Welcome to the Hmong Peeps Show, the one and only show that brings you ordinary people sharing extraordinary insights. Well, maybe. Here is your host, Chew Effin Lee.
Hey, what's going on, folks? This is Chew. Welcome to the Hmong Peeps Show. It's been a while. It feels like forever for me. But I think the last time I did a show or an episode was right before Memorial Weekend, and here we are in June already. June 5th. How was your Memorial Weekend? I hope it was fun and safe. Mine was pretty good. Spent good times with people I care about. But unfortunately, seems like every year around that time there's some type of tragedy, whether it's someone I know or someone within the community. And there's this guy that I know. I don't know him personally, we don't hang out or anything, but he was a good guy. And he drowned during the Memorial Weekend. It's a very unfortunate situation, but jeez, rest in peace to him and his not his family, but my condolences goes out to his family. I hope you guys didn't have to go through any of that, tragedy wherever you guys are. But overall, my Memorial Weekend went well. I didn't catch a lot of fish. I thought I was going to catch a lot of fish, but I only caught 2 for those 3 days, and that's not typical of me. I'd like to think of myself as a pretty good fisherman, but oh well. That lake was probably stupid, huh? It wasn't my fault, right? Okay. Well, as I said, here we are in June. I can't believe how fast this year has gone by already. And if you guys hear a lot of footsteps or just noises other than my voice, it's because I have nieces and nephews over, and they're upstairs. They're just running around hanging out with my 2 boys. So I apologize if that annoys you. Okay, anyway, we're already in June. The year has been great so far for me, and it's going by way too fast at the same time. But I will have to enjoy it as much as I can, because I'm sure that by the time we know it, 2016 will be just right around the corner, huh? Okay, so I wanted to talk about curses. A lot of folks think that curses are a part of their family history. Some of them don't know that. Some of them think that somebody put a curse on them and it's a new thing for them. But here's my perspective on it. And this is just my opinion. This is what I have come up with after talking to many people who struggle with curses. And the curses could range from anything like bad luck to always getting hurt to never having money or always running into some type of drama. How I tell people as far as to really see if it's something new or something that's part of their family history is to just have a conversation with one of their elders in their family, because I believe in every culture around the world we have our own let me try to think of a word here. I don't want to call it curses, but I guess the best way to say it for a lot of you to understand is I'll say it in Hmong. Bimodana, we have our own, superstition. We have our own spiritual beliefs. So it doesn't matter where you are, especially for people who are still considered, I guess, indigenous, like people of the jungle, people who are in remote areas. They have a strong belief in their ancestors and probably Mother Earth. So we all have Da in our culture, in our ethnic groups. And if you want to find out whether it is just you that somebody put a curse on you or not, again, just talk to your elders and see if your elders can provide you with some information about the family history to see if there's been a long pattern of curses within your family. I personally think that curses will only work on you if you give power to it. And how you give power to it is to believe in it and to have fear of it. So if you are a person who can be courageous and have the strength to overcome that fear, most likely that curse will not affect you in any way. However, I'm aware that there are a lot of people out there who, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's some people out there who practice the art of black magic. And black magic is mostly understood as putting curses on people, like hurting people spiritually. While that might be true, I think there are some people who practice black magic for good purposes. It's rare, but I'm sure it happens. And if you give power into these curses, it's gonna take over you, and it's gonna be able to do harm to you. So try to imagine this or visualize this. When you project, strength, courage, faith, when you project that out of you, it builds a surrounding protection, kind of like a field of protective energy around you. And what destroys that field of protection is your fear. So when you have fear, then just imagine that field of protection or energy getting smaller or weaker or thinner. But if you have that strong faith, the courage to not be afraid of it, then your field of protection remains strong, and most likely the curse or bad luck, whatever you want to call it, will not affect you in any way. But then again, also remember this too. Just because you have courage today doesn't mean that's all that it's going to take for you to have an everlasting protection. Having strength and courage has to be something that is every day. That's why I stress the importance of having a foundation of faith. Because when you have that foundation of faith, you know it and you always remember it. You always think of it every time you are in a situation where there's fear. And when you can resort back to that foundation of faith, then your field of energy and protection is where it needs to be to protect you. In rare cases, there are, again, folks who practice black magic. They have the tools to break through that protective energy. I don't know how they do it, but they're able to do it. So it's not 100% guarantee that you're going to always be protected. You have to remind yourself that every day, or at least for me, every day I wake up, I'm aware of where my faith is. Every night I go to sleep. Before I go to sleep, I'm praying, thanking my sources for a good day, a blessed day, and looking forward to another blessed day. That's how I stay connected with my foundation of faith. And I hope you guys can find a foundation of faith so that'll protect you from curses or bad luck. Now, sometimes you don't even need to think about bad luck or curses as something spiritual. It could just be you have a pattern of making bad decisions or bad choices. And it may not have anything to do with spirituality. So that's why I think it's very important for you to check in with your elders to see if there's a history of bad luck or curses within your clan or your family. And I think that'll kind of give you a guidance to how to either remove the curses or get rid of it, or protect yourself from it. Okay? Don't be afraid of these curses, I would say, because, again, if you have that strong faith, I'm pretty sure that you will, be protected well and not be harmed by it. But I've never. Well, let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, when I was very ill, my father did something to find out whether or not I was cursed. He was a part of this new Hmong religion thing. It sounds like a modified religion, I guess. And I don't even think it's really a religion, but whatever. But they got together as a group. They wanted to change how Hmong people did their cultural practices, and they wanted to modify it to make things easier for the younger generation. Which I thought the intentions were great, because I think our generation, or my generation, and the ones after me, a lot of us will no longer know Hmong culture the way our elders know Hmong culture. So anyway, they were a part of this group, and like in a lot of groups, things, people have different morals and values, or they start to discover different morals and values, and then the group it went sour. People started going their own ways, and then there was this one guy. He was kind of like the leader, and it sounds like a cult to be honest with you. So this guy, he supposedly is like a messiah. The gods or the heavens chose him to lead this movement. And also this guy is rumored to know black magic. So my father and the guy didn't get along for a while, and I don't think they get along today. But anyway, shortly after their breakup, I got sick. And my dad did this one thing where, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but it's where he puts rice in a bowl with, and then he puts rice in a bowl, then he puts one egg like halfway buried into the bowl, and then he uses another egg to balance on top of it, and he'll ask questions to say, if this is true, then you as in the spirits, will have to balance this egg on top of the buried egg, or the halfway buried egg. So as he asked questions, the egg started to stand on its own. Okay, my dad didn't hold it no more. And then, of course, he narrowed down the questions to, is it this person? If it is, hold the egg. So as he did it, one of the questions was, is my son cursed? And the egg stood up. And then, to me, I had nothing to do with that group, by the way. Okay, I was not a part of it. I went to a couple of their sermons, and I was like, these are just old men who want status still. That's how my view was, So anyway, I didn't care much about it, but the egg was saying, your son is cursed, and it was done by this person. So then my dad told me that I'm cursed, and I'm thinking, I think my illness, I'll tell you what my illness was. I had like severe back spasms, and I have gout, as I've probably mentioned before. So during that time, my back spasms were so horrible that I was pretty much bedridden for almost an entire year. I think that was back in 2012. But I remember how I, injured my back. I was reaching up for things, and I reached in a certain way where it just, I just sprained something, and it just got worse and worse. So I didn't think anything that I was being cursed. I was just like, okay, I messed up. I was not careful, and I was careless, and this is the result of me being careless. But my dad was convinced that I was cursed. But I didn't have any fear of the curse. I didn't give it much thought. My perspective at that point was, hey, if that's what you believe in, that's you, man. But I really believe that I injured my back on my own, and it was my own doing. So eventually, I was bedridden pretty much for like an entire year, like I said, but it was a slow healing process for me. It was also a time where I had to really discover myself, and I've probably shared this with a lot of you, where I feel like that happened to me because I needed to go through a spiritual transition. It was to discover myself spiritually, and my sources had to slow me down, and that's how they did it, is to say, let's make Chu really settle down literally on his bed so he can, reflect on who he is and what he's meant to do. So that's how I looked at it. I didn't think of it as any curses, but my father truly believed in it, and to this day I'm a lot healthier, but I'm very cautious of how I maneuver my back and things like that, so I don't have to go through that. If any of you guys have had back spasms, I feel your pain. I understand it, and I know what it's like. So yeah, so when it comes to curses, just ask the elders to see if there's been a long history of bad luck or bad omens onto your family or your clan. My family didn't have any history of consistent bad luck or curses. I think when I look at some of the things that have happened in my own clan, it's not a curse, it's just poor choices and lack of faith to whatever they want to believe in. So I hope this was helpful, you guys, and let me know if you guys can share some of your own stories as far as curses and what you think is going on in your life, to see if you feel like you're cursed with bad luck or just something horrible. I hope it's not horrible to the extent where you're like physically going to die or anything like that, but like bad luck. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. That's it for this week. I will talk to you sometime soon, if not sooner. Take care. Bye.